Mastering data classification auditing. Auditors are gamblers with your secrets. How do the auditing procedures ensure that sensitive or confidential data is handled securely and in compliance with organizational policies during the data classification auditing process? The auditing procedures for data classification ensure that sensitive or confidential data is handled securely and in compliance with organizational policies by implementing a comprehensive and structured approach. This involves a series of rigorous steps that are carefully designed to identify, classify, and safeguard sensitive data throughout its life cycle. Firstly, the auditing process begins with a thorough risk assessment to identify potential vulnerabilities and threats to sensitive data. This involves evaluating the current data handling practices, identifying areas of high risk, and prioritizing the classification of sensitive data accordingly. The risk assessment helps to focus the auditing efforts on the most critical areas, ensuring that the organization's resources are allocated effectively. Next, the auditors conduct a data discovery exercise to identify all sources of sensitive data within the organization. This involves reviewing databases, file systems, emails, and other data repositories to identify sensitive information such as personally identifiable information, PII, trade secrets, and confidential business information. The data discovery exercise helps to create a comprehensive inventory of sensitive data, which is then used to inform the classification process. The classification process involves assigning a sensitivity label to each dataset based on its level of sensitivity and potential impact in the event of a breach. The sensitivity labels are typically categorized into 3 levels: public, internal, and confidential. The classification process is guided by the organization's data classification policy, which outlines the criteria for each sensitivity level and the corresponding handling procedures. To ensure that sensitive data is handled securely, the auditing process assesses the implementation of access controls, encryption, and other security measures. The auditors review the user access controls, authentication mechanisms, and authorization processes to ensure that only authorized personnel have access to sensitive data. Additionally, the auditors evaluate the encryption methods used to protect data in transit and at rest, ensuring that they meet the organization's standards for encrypting sensitive data. The auditing process also examines the data handling procedures to ensure that they comply with organizational policies and regulatory requirements. The auditors review the data storage, transmission, and disposal procedures to ensure that they are secure, efficient, and audit-proof. The auditors also assess the training and awareness programs for employees and contractors who handle sensitive data, ensuring that they understand their responsibilities and obligations in handling sensitive data. Furthermore, the auditing process evaluates the incident response and disaster recovery plans to ensure that they are effective in responding to data breaches or system failures. The auditors review the procedures for reporting and responding to security incidents, as well as the business continuity plans to ensure that sensitive data is protected during system downtime or data restoration. To ensure compliance with organizational policies and regulatory requirements, the auditing process involves a comprehensive review of the organization's policies, procedures, and standards related to data classification and handling. The auditors evaluate the data classification policy, acceptable use policy, data retention policy, and other relevant policies to ensure that they are complete, up-to-date, and aligned with regulatory requirements. In addition, the auditing process assesses the role-based access controls, segregation of duties, and least privilege principles to ensure that sensitive data is protected from unauthorized access or modifications. The auditors review the network architecture, system configurations, and application security to identify potential vulnerabilities that could be exploited to gain unauthorized access to sensitive data. Finally, the auditing process involves reporting and remediation. The auditors document all findings, identify vulnerabilities, and recommend remediation actions to address identified weaknesses. The report provides a comprehensive overview of the organization's data classification and handling practices, highlighting areas of strength and weakness. The remediation actions are prioritized based on risk, and the organization implement the recommended changes to improve the security and compliance posture. In conclusion, the auditing procedures for data classification ensure that sensitive or confidential data is handled securely and in compliance with organizational policies by implementing a comprehensive and structured approach. The auditing process involves risk assessment, data discovery, classification, access control evaluation, incident response planning, policy review, and reporting and remediation. By following these procedures, organizations can ensure that their sensitive data is protected from unauthorized access, breaches, or system failures, and that they are compliant with relevant regulatory requirements.